Thank you for being here. My name is Gina Luna, and I serve as the chair of Houston Exponential. And we're just so excited that this day is here. As we were developing the strategy that ultimately led to the formation of Houston Exponential, it was abundantly clear that one of the biggest opportunities in Houston was to bring more early stage capital into the market. And as we looked across the country at other cities that had faced similar challenges, we very quickly coalesced around the fund-to-funds model that was established by Chris Rizik, the CEO and fund manager of the Renaissance Venture Capital Fund in Michigan. That fund's performance over 9 years has outperformed national benchmarks for rate of return and rate of profit distribution, and more importantly, has put Michigan and its startup community on the radar of leading venture capital firms across the country. We worked with Chris and others to plot out a strategy for the HX Venture Fund, Houston's first corporate fund of funds. The primary goal of the HX Venture Fund, a fund that invests capital in other venture funds, is to achieve an attractive return for our investors, to attract leading venture capital firms outside of Houston to bring their expertise and their risk capital to the region, and to create a pathway for innovation flow between corporations, startups, and innovators. To be clear, this is a return-seeking fund that invests in other venture capital funds, not directly in startups. Most of the venture funds HX Venture Fund will invest in are likely outside of Houston or even outside of Texas. And at first glance, this might seem counterintuitive, and several people have asked, are we really going to take capital from Houston and give it to venture firms outside of Texas? And the answer is yes. And we've looked at what happened in Michigan. For every dollar that Renaissance invested, 16 VC dollars were attracted back to Michigan, for a total of $1.3 billion. So we look at this model and it's a force multiplier, and that's what we're seeking in Houston. This will be a real catalyst for us. So how does this happen? It's all about engagement that ensures that the right people from these leading VC firms spend time in Houston and engage in our ecosystem, both with investors, that's our limited partners, and with early stage companies that are here. For example, last week, Renaissance Fund held their annual meeting. They had more than 700 people from around the globe that attended. They represented investors, corporations, startups from Michigan and elsewhere, and the venture capital funds that Renaissance had invested in. During the 2 days, all of these people were networking and exchanging ideas. And over that 2-day period, they held over 500 individual meetings between corporates, VCs, and startup companies. So you can imagine the business opportunities and the relationships that develop out of that. So that's what the Houston Exponential Venture Fund is all about. And I'm confident, because I've seen it before. People will come to Houston, they'll engage with our corporate community, with our startup community, and not only will they invariably invest here, but they'll go back and talk about what exciting things are happening in Houston. So I have no doubt that it will be an exponential effect. I expect also that in a few years, Houston will also be a hub for early stage capital. Those investors will realize that they can't afford not to be in Houston. So, with all that said, we're excited to be here today to announce the first close of the HX Venture Fund with $25 million in commitment from 9 leading Houston companies. Please help me in thanking our founding limited partners that have collectively committed $25 million to the HX Venture Fund, and I'd like to recognize them now. First is Insperity. Oh, thank you. Chevron, thank you, Barbara. Shell, Kirk and Jason. Quanta Services, I don't think we have Duke here. Westlake Chemical, The Plank Companies, thank you, Mike. Pros, HEB, he's here somewhere, and Camden. These business leaders and their companies have made a bold move to invest in Houston in a significant and meaningful way. Please join me once again in thanking them. So this is a great day for Houston. It's a great day for innovation in our community. And this milestone, along with so many others that we've announced over the last year, sends a strong positive message to Houstonian and the rest of the world about our commitment to this transformation. And you all know from the beginning of this effort, Mayor Turner has been a visionary leader, helping drive forward the importance of innovation in our community. And for that leadership, I am so grateful. So would you please join me in welcoming Mayor Turner.
Let me start off by thanking Gina for her leadership and her vision and stick-to-itiveness on all of this. And let me also thank all of the individuals and the companies that they represent for being a part of this tremendous effort. A year or two ago, many people would not have thought of Houston as the next great city for startups and digital innovation, but that is changing, and it's changing quickly. This week's Houston Business Journal cover story carried this headline, Silicon Bayou. Tech companies are moving to the Bayou City for many different reasons. Now, quite frankly, just got a phone call with something else that's will be announced later. But the word is certainly getting around that things are happening in the city of Houston. So the dream is becoming real, thanks to hard work of many people gathered here today and the spirit of Houston, which welcomes enterprise and new blood. And now we are here to celebrate another giant step, and it is a giant, significant step, and one that is very tangible. To position our city as Silicon Bayou, we quickly, kind of like that phrase, we quickly agreed that part of our focus should be on getting more venture capital money flowing into Houston because it is so essential to growing the startup ecosystem. We needed a spark to get that fire going, and the X Venture Fund is just that spark. I also want to acknowledge Councilmember Amanda Edwards, I know for her interest and involvement and a part of the initial task force at the City of Houston. Please give it up for Councilmember Amanda Edwards. $25 million in commitments from 9 leading Houston companies is a great start. And I want to thank you all individually and collectively for what you're doing for the city of Houston. To Paul and Insperity, thanks for being the anchor investor, and very much appreciated. Thank you all to all of the companies who came together to make this happen. It doesn't just happen on its own. It requires people willing to show leadership and recognize the importance to this city, and recognizing that we just can't pat ourselves on the back for past achievements. We have to look forward and build forward, not building back, and not be so satisfied with what has already been accomplished in our city while others are competing against us and want to assume the role that Houston has assumed in so many ways. So as we had big personalities and big leaders in the past, the city of Houston is hungry for big visionary leaders now going forward in the city. And these 9 companies are stepping up and leading the way, and I want to thank them. But I know we can do it even bigger and better. This is just the beginning, and I encourage all of the corporate leaders here today to join as we finance the work of the next global capital for tech innovation. And with things moving so fast for our city, and things are moving fast, this is the time to get on the high-speed train, and it starts now. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor. I would also like to acknowledge and thank our fund manager, Guillermo Borda. Guillermo, please. Guillermo is a gift to Houston. He has tremendous experience as a fund manager, and he was instrumental in not only crafting our strategy, but in securing every single one of those $25 million. It's like he gathered them up one at a time by himself. So thank you, Guillermo. I also want to recognize our HX Venture Fund Investment Committee, which is a very important group that will ultimately make the decision on these investments. So that is, Guillermo is one of those members as the fund manager, and then we're so fortunate to have Chris Ryzik, who invented the model. He couldn't be with us today, but sends his regards. And then Charles Tate and Paul Hobby. Those 4 individuals are our investment committee. So I know we all feel very comfortable with our investment in their capable hands. Certainly want to acknowledge Blair Guru and the Mercury Fund team. Blair is the founder and managing partner of Mercury Fund. He's been building the ecosystem here since he was born. And Blair serves as the chair of the the Fund of Funds Advisory Board, and he's also on the HX Venture Board. He's on the HX board. And then to that point, if all of our HX board members would stand, we have a board of 20 people. I know they're not all here, but an important group to us. And last but certainly not least, I want to extend a very special thanks to the anchor investor in the fund, Insperity. Paul Sarvati and Insperity made a $5 million commitment last December when we were just starting the concept and the idea of this fund of funds. They got on board very early. Larry Schaefer was a huge help in that. And in addition to their commitment to the fund, they also contributed the necessary runway capital to launch and support the daily operations during the formation and the fundraising period. So it is safe to say we would not be where we are today without Insperity and their leadership, and we're just so grateful for their confidence and their enthusiasm, not just around the fund of funds, but around this whole notion that we are going to build an incredible world-class ecosystem here. So, Paul, I'd love to invite you up to say a few words.
Thank you. Thank you, Gina. Thank you, Gina, and thank you, Mayor Turner. It's great to have you here and be a part of this. This is a great day for entrepreneurship in Houston, Texas, and for the small business community that plays such an important role in our community. And this was an easy decision for Insperity to step up and be the anchor sponsor for this project, for this endeavor. It was easy for 3 reasons. First of all, this fits squarely in the mission of Insperity. Our mission is to help businesses succeed so communities prosper. And we really believe in that connection between business success, entrepreneurial, small business success, and how it lifts up the whole community. The second reason it was simple for us was because Houston's our home. And we have received the benefit of the powerful business community that we have here, and the openness and the welcoming and the encouragement that it takes to take great ideas and help them flourish. So that was easy. And the third reason that we jumped all over it was we saw a very powerful, well thought out, thorough strategy that we knew would work and make a difference in the city of Houston. Because this has been a hole here, and that is about to be filled. So we are very proud to be a part of it and look forward to the success of the endeavor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul. One of the things that we're so proud of is the diversity of industries among this group. I think that's a really important point and part of our strategy. In addition to the fund of funds and the support that we've received from this group, I want you all to know that in the broader HX effort, we have over 400 volunteer executives participating in various work groups that's guiding Houston Exponential. And again, you know, the money and the capital is so important, but people's time and their leadership to this movement is powerful as well, and so we're grateful for that. As you all would expect, the Greater Houston Partnership has been an amazing partner in supporting us in the formation of Houston Exponential, in the development of the fund, and so I want to extend my thanks to the Greater Houston Partnership. Bob Harvey's not here today. So happy to have Mark Watts, the GHP chairman this year, and I'd love to ask Mark to say a few words.
Well, thank you, Gina. Isn't it just great that this day has finally arrived? Partnership's been working on this a long time, so Gina, we know how hard you have worked. And Mayor Turner, thanks for your support, and really all of our limited partnerships. I'm so pleased the corporate community has stepped up in such a big way to support the Venture Fund. And I'm also proud to count most, if not all, of the limited partners as members and, in many cases, board members of the partnership. For those of us who have been in Houston for our entire lives, we know that we live in a dynamic opportunity city, a city built on innovation. But to the outside world, we just don't have a reputation as an innovation hub. This is largely due to the fact that most of the innovation that we see, at least, happens within our large companies. That's why the work that Gina and Houston Exponential have been doing is so important to changing that perception. We have a vibrant and growing startup community, and by helping build bridges between companies and startups, along with our academic institutions and VC firms, Houston has incredible potential. So I'm really excited to hear that 16-to-1 ratio on attracting VC money. And the other thing I'm excited about is, just in my experience, the reason we have not done better on this historically has been one of our strengths, and that's our great wealth. We have such wealth in this city, we have not needed to collaborate. And so I think this will change that. I think the wealthy individuals who have ideas have funded them themselves, and there's been no requirement to collaborate, to raise money, to network, to get new ideas. This will change all that. And so that's the really exciting part. So I know there are several companies here today that have looked at the fund and may not have participated. I think the mayor mentioned that. So now is the time to get your act together and to get your act together. But I think we'll look back on today as a pivotal inflection point. I hope, and it's not just the money, and it's not just closing this fund, it's the focus and this group coming together to make this all happen, to keep us on an upward trajectory. And by attracting the digital tech talent that all of us need, Houston Exponential continues to make a difference, and I'm excited that the partnership and the broader corporate community are coming together to do just that. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Gina.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Give you your notes back so I don't say what you said. Mark raises an important point that I will expand on just a little bit. Mind everyone that this is a $50 million fund, and we have now closed on $25 million. So I am excited to say that there were several companies that, as a matter of timing, did not complete their internal approval process in order to meet our first close deadline, but are actively working. And so I fully expect we're going to have more good news to share in the coming weeks and months. And Guillermo and I and others are optimistic we're going to have another close by the end of the year and really be off to the races. So again, it's a huge tribute to the Houston community and all that's happening here. So lastly, I just want to remind everybody that the HX Venture Fund is one of several key vehicles that will elevate Houston as a leading innovation city. We also need Houston companies to fund accelerators and incubators, help us build a robust and thriving innovation district, and find ways to partner with entrepreneurs. Run a pilot in your company. Serve as an advisor. Connect early stage companies to potential clients. And as Mark said, we need the incredible capital base that is in Houston. It's in individuals, it's in family offices, it's in the corporate community. We need everybody to deliberately think about adding angel and venture investing to your asset allocation to help us grow this ecosystem. And there's becoming more and more vehicles for you to do that. So the HX Venture Fund, while very important, is but one component of our cohesive strategy that will transform Houston into a world-leading hub of technology, innovation, and entrepreneurship. So with that, we'll be happy to take any questions.
I think you answered them all.
Good. That's great.